Yo, what's going on, guys? CultofMush back at it with a $1,500 full setup gaming PC. So this includes the monitor, keyboard, mouse, and operating system alongside your typical PC build. I haven't done one of these in a while, and a lot of you guys have been requesting me to get back to them. So here's a $1,500 one. Keep in mind that this is pretty high end. Although this definitely isn't the highest end PC on the market, it's definitely a great PC if you want to do really high quality 1440p gaming. And if you're just looking to do 1080p gaming, maybe consider something lower end, although obviously if you pick this up, it'll crush games at 1080p. With that being said, let's get right into this with the CPU. A second ago, I was talking about how high end of a PC this would be if you built it, although I couldn't fit in an Intel Core i7 into the budget, so I decided to go with the Core i5-6600K 3.5 GHz quad-core processor at $230. Unfortunately, it isn't a Core i7, but the Core i5-6600K is still a beast of a CPU, and it's going to handle any game you throw at it as long as it's paired with a good enough video card, which it is in this build. Now, with the i7, if you were to get that would help you in things like video editing, rendering, live streaming, so if you are looking to do things like that, maybe consider an i7 because an i5 does have limitations as far as that goes. Also, with the i5-6600K, you don't get a packed-in CPU cooler, and you definitely wouldn't want to use a packed-in CPU cooler since this is a K-series CPU, and you can overclock it, so at the very least, pick up something like a Cooler Master Hyper 212 Evo, or you can grab a CryoRig H7. Those are lower-end coolers that still allow you to do a decent amount of overclocking if you want to get it to say 4 GHz. That's going to give you a lot of performance. Even if you keep the 6600K at the stock 3.5, it's going to give you a lot of performance. And for $30, something like the Hyper 212 does go a long way. For the motherboard, I went with the MSI Z170-A Pro ATX LJ1151 motherboard. This comes in at around $110 to $120, so kind of expensive for a motherboard, but if you're getting a K-series CPU, you're going to need a Z170 board. With this motherboard, you've got 4 RAM slots, up to DDR4 3200 and up to 64 gigabytes of max memory supported. It's got RAID support, 2 SATA 6 gigabit per second ports, 2 SATA Express ports, as well as onboard USB 3 headers. So for the price, it's not one of the more expensive, $150 to $170 motherboards, but it's still gonna give you all the features that you need out of a build like this. And aesthetically, it's got a nice black look that's gonna go with all the other parts in the build. For memory, I was debating on where to go with this, either 16 gigabytes or 8 gigabytes. Unfortunately, I could not fit in 16 gigabytes into the budget. The G.Skill Ripjaws 8 gigabytes, 2 4 gigabyte sticks at DDR4 2400 is available for around $49. I would recommend that if you do have the extra $20 to $30, just drop it and grab 16 gigabytes of RAM. That's something that's becoming more and more prevalent in gaming. It's still not essential. My PC still has 8 gigabytes of RAM. I haven't upgraded it. But if you're building a new PC, especially with a budget like this, I would just grab the 16 gigabytes of RAM. Unfortunately, with this build, by the end, the budget was getting a bit tight. However, a lot of these components go on sale all the time, so if you look a little bit harder than I do, you can definitely find them on sale, and you could probably get this for well under $1,500. But still, even if you do grab 8 gigabytes of RAM, you can always upgrade to 16 in the future, so it's not a big deal either way. It's just, in my personal opinion, you should drop the little bit of extra cash to just get 16 gigabytes now, but that decision I will leave up to you guys. For storage, obviously, with a build like this, you're gonna go with a mechanical hard drive as well as an SSD. For the mechanical hard drive, it's the standard Western Digital Caviar Blue 1TB. These have been $50 for as long as I can remember. I think when I started making YouTube videos back in like 2013, these were $50, still $50. And yeah, it's 1 terabyte of storage, but as I've been mentioning recently, a lot of game file sizes are increasing. If you're downloading the latest games, they're gonna range from 40 to 70 gigabytes, so maybe for you guys, 1 terabyte is not gonna be enough. And if you think that'll be the case, you can look into Seagate's 2 or 3 terabyte drives. Those are fairly cheap, and they offer a lot of mass storage. Moving on to the SSD, the PNY CS1311 240 gigabyte solid state drive is available for around $65. Some of the other options like the Samsung 850 is going for around $95 to $110. I just think that's a little bit too expensive, but SSDs go on sale all the time. Like literally, I feel like I see it every day where a different SSD is on sale for a different price. So if you're watching this video even a few days after it's uploaded, I would probably go with a different SSD. It's just whatever's available at the time. This PNY SSD is available right now for $65, and for a 240 gigabyte SSD, that's pretty good. However, with pretty much any SSD, whether it be from Kingston, Samsung, PNY, OCZ, prices fluctuate all the time, and you can even find a better deal than this on a 240 gigabyte SSD. This is just what's available right now. Moving on to the video card, this probably isn't a shocker to anybody. The EVGA GeForce GTX 1070 8 gigabyte video card is available for $380. The 1070 is just a beast of a video card. What can I say? I've done a lot of testing with this GPU. I have a lot of videos of the 1070 on my channel, so if you want to check those out and see what kind of performance it gives, gives. Here's a spoiler, it's pretty freaking good. At 1440p, you can run games like Witcher 3, Battlefield 1, Deus Ex Mankind Divided. As long as a game is decently optimized on PC, the 1070 is going to be able to run it at 1440p or 1080p. If you move into that 4K stuff, alright, the 1070 is going to struggle there, but at 1440p or 1080p, it does a really good job. Unfortunately, currently there isn't any free benefits like the free copy of Gears of War 4 that was available earlier, but for $380, getting a sweet video card should be nice enough. Next up for the power supply, nothing crazy. You're just going to go with a SeaSonic S12 620W 80 plus bronze certified PSU. This is $50. Honestly, you could get away with getting something like an EVGA 500 watt power supply if you want to save like another $20. However, in a higher end build, power supply isn't something I would want to skimp out on, but at the same time, you don't want to spend like $100 for a power supply. For a long time, people have been saying that power supplies are one of the most important parts of the build, and they definitely are, but that point has just been driven home over and over again, that I see a lot of people dropping excessive amounts of money on a power supply, sometimes crazy amounts like $150 when they're building like a $700 PC, and just don't do that. Something like the SeaSonic 620 watt power supply is going to be perfectly fine for this build, and for $50, it's a really solid pickup. Moving on to the case, you're going to go with the NZXT S340. The black and red is the one I would go with, since that's going to go with the color scheme of the build. Unfortunately, the 1070 that I picked doesn't really go with the color scheme of the build, so if you want to pick up a different one, I believe MSI has a couple of them that would go more with the color scheme of this build, but I'll leave that up to you guys. That's kind of just something preferential. Some people like to have matching color schemes, other people don't. But I digress. The NZXT S340 is an awesome case for the money. It's not a crazy $100 case. However, as a $65 to $70 case, it's a really nice mid-tower case. It has the really nice side window that everybody loves, so you can show off your rig to your friends. And overall, there's a reason why the S340 is one of the top-rated cases on the market. You look at reviews for this thing, and it always gets nearly perfect remarks. Moving on to the accessories, first of all, the monitor. You have to go with the 1440p monitor, in my opinion, if you're picking up the 1070. It's just how you're going to get the most out of that video card, so I decided to get something a little bit cheaper. The Acer G257HU 25-inch monitor is available for $234. This is a 1440p monitor, 60 Hz. And if you're watching this video within the few days that it releases, Newegg does have a promo code that takes off another $10 on this monitor, so definitely check that out if you're interested. For a 1440p monitor, for some, 25 inches is a little too small. I don't think that's a big issue. I know some people prefer 27 inches for a 1440p monitor, but that 2 inches isn't going to be a big deal, and it's going to make that 1440p look really nice on a smaller screen. And honestly, someone like me, I prefer to game on 23-inch monitors, even if it was 1440p. I don't know why, I just prefer the smaller screens. As far as connections go, you have DVI, HDMI, and DisplayPort, and it does have built-in speakers, which is something that I always like to see in a monitor. While the speakers definitely aren't good, they always act as a nice backup if your main speakers mess up. I always like to have that just in case anything goes wrong. Moving on to the keyboard and mouse. Now, I have to say that personally, I wouldn't drop this kind of money on a keyboard and mouse, but I think I'm very much in the minority on that. It seems like everybody always likes to have a nice keyboard and a nice mouse. So for the keyboard, I went with the Corsair Vengeance K70. This is one of the most popular keyboards on the market. However, it does come in at a hefty $130 price tag. Over Black Friday, I did see it on sale, and if you find it for around 100 or even sub 100, then it's definitely a good pickup. I just think 130 is kind of crazy for a keyboard, but this is one of the top selling keyboards on the market, so people are obviously buying it. And for the mouse, I went with the Mionix Castor. Now, this one I can personally talk about because this is my main mouse, and I absolutely love it. I was using the Razer Naga for a while, and I really like that too. However, when I moved over to the Castor, I just thought it was leagues ahead of that. This one's really good for first-person shooters, so if you're looking to play something like CSGO, yeah, you're picking up a $1,500 PC, but don't forget about games like CSGO. I'm sure you guys are still gonna be looking to play that. The Castor is very nice for first-person shooters. Again, the price is kind of hefty at $70, but you're getting what you paid for. This is a very, very nice mouse, and like I said, for first-person shooters, it's absolutely excellent. Finally, for the operating system, you're going to get Windows 10, and I would go on a site like Kingwin. I've hooked my friends up with Windows 10 off Kingwin before, and they've had no problems with it. You can pick it up for like $25, and that's definitely better than paying the $80 to $100 or whatever it is on Amazon or your local retailer. I just don't think an operating system is worth that kind of money, but if you do want to err on the side of caution, you can drop the $80 or whatever it is and pick up a copy of Windows 10 from Amazon, because that is something you're going to need. I know there's the option of using Linux, Linux, but I think the majority of you guys just want to use Windows. So you obviously got to pick that up. So that's going to wrap up this video, guys. Kind of went long, but I wanted to talk about everything in this build. As always, thanks for watching. If you have a request for a future video, let me know in the comment section down below. If you want any other budgets with a full setup, I don't really like doing PC builds too often, only once every 2 weeks or so, twice a month. But just let me know in the comment section down below and I will get to it as soon as possible. So thanks for watching and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.